Good evening and thank you so much for joining us. I'm Aaron Gonders.
And I'm Carney Porter. The murder trial of Ron Burdick is on hold at least until Monday after a tense fourth day of testimony was brought to a screeching halt when the defendant experienced a medical episode.
Josh Hoggard was in the 30th District Courtroom for all of that today. So Josh, what exactly went down this afternoon?
Well, it was quite a shocking moment for everyone in the courtroom this afternoon, with audible gasps coming from just about everyone who was in the gallery, when during a fairly tense moment outside the jury's presence, Burdick suddenly collapsed onto the floor, having what his wife referred to as a seizure, bringing testimony to an abrupt end just before 3 this afternoon. Things got going this morning in the 30th District Court with Wichita County Sergeant Eric Wish, who testified yesterday, returning to the witness stand. A video recording of the custodial interview between Burdick and Wish on the day of the fatal shooting of Mike Randall was shown to the jury. And when it ended, Wish testified that Burdick seemed unusually calm for someone who had just experienced a life or death struggle, adding that Burdick didn't appear to show any signs of remorse for shooting Randall. Sergeant Wish also testified that Burdick's statement didn't align with what he observed on the scene at Shepherd Road, noting several details that seemed to contradict the claim that Randall lunged at Burdick, also testifying that verbal provocation doesn't give someone the right to use deadly force. And while he didn't know if Randall had any drugs in his system that day, even if he did, he was still entitled to the protection of the law. Then after lunch, prosecutor Jarrett Knoll rested the state's case, and after a few brief defense witnesses, Burdick's attorney Jeff Eves called Lisa Burdick, the defendant's wife, to the stand. She testified that she was at Lindeman Welding when Randall came to pick up his final check. But during her testimony, the prosecution made several objections for hearsay. Presiding Judge Jeff McKnight instructed Mrs. Burdick multiple times regarding what she could and could not testify to based on the rules of law and the rules of evidence, eventually dismissing the jury to further instruct both the witness and the attorneys on how things would proceed. Knoll's cross-examination of Mrs. Burdick led to several heated exchanges, and she was observed becoming visibly upset on a few occasions. And it was after the jury was dismissed for a second time that Ron Burdick collapsed. A stunned gallery was instructed to exit the courtroom, and eventually first responders arrived to provide medical attention to Burdick, eventually transporting him from the courtroom. Now, that leaves the trial in a really interesting spot. Due to a regularly scheduled criminal docket in the 30th tomorrow, testimony was going to resume on Monday, regardless of where things ended today. But now with Burdick's health in question, it may resume on Monday and it may not. At this point, we really don't know. But we'll make sure to keep you updated on air and online with the latest information as soon as an update is available.
All right, we'll see what happens in the coming days and into next week. Josh, thank you so much for bringing us that update.